Hey, this is RJ May, and you're watching Mr. Mario 2011.
Hey, so what is going on, everyone? It is me, Mr. Mario, and it is about that time of year, and I just want to tell you all, if you are celebrating the holiday, Merry Christmas around the world, whether it be morning, evening, afternoon, whatever it is, just have a good holiday. And if you're not celebrating that, or you're celebrating a different holiday, or whatever it is, enjoy your holidays, whatever they are. Have a great time, have a great day, whatever it is. I try and acknowledge everyone here. But anyways, with the Christmas thing, you know, it is something that I celebrated, something I've celebrated pretty much all my life. My family celebrates it as well. My friends celebrate it, and it's a pretty universally recognized holiday. So that's why I like talking about this. And Christmas is just, it's a great time of year overall. I really like the Christmas spirit and everything. Just everyone is, you know, happy, they're giddy, you know, whatever it is. And also I've kind of noticed as I've gotten older, I've enjoyed the cold more. So, you know, the wintertime is one of my favorite times now, which is completely flip-flopped from what I thought, you know, 3 years ago. Anyways, I wanted to tell you all this story, and this is actually a bit of a rehash of a story. And some people might be saying, Mr. Mario, now you're just trying to grasp for straws. Well, you know, I was thinking of doing a tutorial, kind of like what I did last year for you all, but it would have been on a smaller scale. I was like, you know what? I can always do a tutorial. I've told this story one time before, and this is probably when I had, like, the last time I told this story, honestly, I probably had less than 500 subscribers. So this is new material to, I'm sure, 99.9% of you all. So I'm going to be telling this story here. And also, the last time I told this story, I felt like telling it, and it was in the middle of June. So yes, it was a good story to tell, but maybe not as good, you know, time-wise to tell it, especially since it was more of a Christmas story. But anyways, this is a Christmas story I want to tell you all, and I actually haven't told it for over a year, thinking about it. It's maybe even 2 years. It's been a while, really. This just kind of came back up in my head, and I wanted to tell it. So anyways, details might be a bit hazy, as this was about 5 years ago, so this was Christmas of 2009. And in case you all do not know, I was 16 at the time, I was in high school obviously, and I was working at a local mom-and-pop video game store. Now, I was working a bunch of hours there because I was really wanting to get an iPod Touch 3rd generation at the time, which I did end up getting just from 1 week of work alone, which was awesome. I mean, that was a lot of money to have as a 16-year-old at the time. But anyways, what ended up happening was I was working through all of winter break. And then we did not work on Christmas, the 25th, but on the 24th we were working, and we didn't extend hours or anything. But what happened was we had 2 stores, and I was running the first store. At the time, I don't even remember if we had the second store open. I don't even think we had the second store open, but essentially something happened, and I was running the first store by myself. Which was in kind of a bit of a shady-ish area. Not the worst, but not the best at the same time. So I was working there by myself. I think my manager had left or something. He left early, and because of that, I was just tasked with, you know, locking up the place and all that good stuff. So I was working there alone. What ended up happening was we closed at 7 o'clock. I remember our hours were 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. And I was working, and I was just, you know, I was tired. It's just, anyone who's worked retail, they understand how it is. You know, at the end of the day, you're just waiting for that clock to tell you, yes, you can lock up and you can go home, or you can just walk out the door and you'll be good. So what happened is it's around 6 o'clock, and this kid comes in. Now, this kid comes in, he's wearing, like, pajama pants. He's wearing, like, this kind of big, but, like, tattered and faded, and it's kind of crappy coat overall. And it sounds like I'm being mean about it, but no, you all will understand when I talk about it, you know, in more detail. In short, you know, it didn't look like he had too much money on him, unfortunately. And he came in, you know, he was kind of a chubby kid. He had glasses and all that. He comes in, he's probably 11 or 12 maybe, but he comes over to the front of the store, and he's just like, hey, I have some games I want to trade in. And I'm just like, I wasn't very exciteful at the time just because I was really tired. And to me, it was more like, okay, I have to still deal with stuff my last hour. So I was like, okay, let me see them. So I take the games, and there were 3 PS3 games there. And I remember BioShock 2 was there. Modern Warfare 2 was there, and there was another game, and for the life of me, I cannot remember what this game was. But I looked at all three of them, I looked up the prices in my database and everything, and I offered him the price. And I said, okay, I can give you either $20 cash or $24 in trade. And he kind of looked a bit surprised, and he was like, oh, well, I was expecting more. And that was actually the top dollar I could have given him for the games at the time. But then I was just like, hey, you know what, I'm sorry, I can't give you any more, really, unfortunately. So he was just, he kind of thought about it. He's like, you know, I guess I'll just take the cash. So I go ahead, I buy the games from him, I finish up the transaction, take $20 out of the register, give it to him, we say goodbye, he gets out of there. I didn't think much of anything of it. I took the games, I'm like, okay, we got 2 good games, we got a crappy game here, okay. Just put them over to the side. I was like, I'll, you know, price them, set them out tomorrow. Or the day after, technically. So then what ends up happening is about 30 minutes later. So it's around 6:30. This kid comes back in. He's still wearing the same stuff. And his face is like red. Like really, really like almost lobster red. Because it was so cold. It was so windy outside. Like there was such a bad storm that hit that Christmas, and he was like walking between our place and his house in the middle of it all. Christmas Eve, this evening, like, as I said, he was like 11 or 12. I don't know what was up with his parents, but I don't know what was going on. Anyways, what ended up happening is he came over, and I'm just like, oh, hey, you're back here. He's like, yeah, you know, I have something else to trade. I want to sell this controller. And I was like, okay, sure, let me take a look at it. So he pulls a controller out of his pocket, and the controller looks like it's in pristine condition. It's a Modern Warfare 2 Special Edition controller. It was some third-party controller that was made, and it was, you could tell it was third-party as well because not only the branding on it, but it had a little USB dongle that you had to plug into your PlayStation 3 in order to, you know, get the wireless controller actually working with your system. So I go ahead and look it up, and then, you know, I'm just making small talk with him and everything, and I'm like, man, you're selling all this stuff, you know, last minute and everything. And he's like, yeah, you know, well, I'm wanting to get my little sister a present. And then I'm just joking around. I'm like, well, she must want something really nice then if you're, you know, selling all this stuff last minute right now. Because as I said, remember, it's 6:30, we close at 7, and this is on Christmas Eve right now. And he got kind of quiet. And he's like, well, my family doesn't have that much money. And my parents couldn't really get us any gifts. But I want my sister to have a present. Or at least something. And if that means I have to take some of my favorite things and sell them, then I'll do it. Just because I want her to have a Christmas. And I stopped right there. Because I was looking at the screen. I was looking this up and everything. And I just stopped. And this just hit me. Because honestly, the whole time I had worked there, and even after that, I had never seen generosity like that. I really hadn't. People, they gave me sob stories. They gave me excuses, whatever it is. This whatever it was, this was legitimate right here. So I had never done this after that. Or before it. This is the only time. The 2.5 years I worked at this store. This is the only time I ever did it. But I looked up. I just looked at him. I was like, how much are you wanting for this? And he just kind of thought, and he's like, well, I was hoping to get like $10 or something. And I just kind of nodded, and I was like, okay, I can do that. And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, I'll give you 15 for it. And he was just kind of surprised, like, wait, really? You'll give me that? I was like, yes. Are you wanting cash or trade? And he said, I'll take cash. I said, okay, I'll give you 15. And originally I was going to give him $10 for the controller, but it wasn't worth that much. Like, we couldn't pay out that amount for it. But, you know, I felt like 15, I had some wiggle room there. And I actually talked with a friend about it that evening, and he was saying, you know, I would have given him 20. And I was like, I wanted to give him more, but comparing, you know, the price of it new and used and how much we would be selling it for and all that, like, I couldn't get away with selling it for $20. Well, buying it for $20 in that retail setup. But 15, that was really pushing it. That was pushing it a little further, but you know, for this, I felt like I could make an exception. As I said, that was the only time I ever asked about that. So at this point, I will be honest, like, I was kind of, you know, I felt myself, like, the feels were there. I was almost, like, tearing up a little bit behind the counter there. So I take his controller, I finish up the transaction, I take $15 out of the register, I give it to him, and he is happy, he's grinning, he's smiling and everything. He's just like, hey, thank you. And I was like, hey, it's all good, man. Now just get out of here. Just get your sister something nice. And as he's leaving, he's like, yeah, I will. Hopefully I won't have to come back here and sell anything else. And I just kind of laughed, and I was like, he left. And, you know, the thing is, with that extra $5 I gave him, it might not have been much, but, you know, for him being younger than me, that made a difference. And even buying something for his sister who's younger than him, that made an even bigger difference. And honestly, with that $5, like, I almost wanted to, you know, on purpose push him out of the store. I'm like, if you're doing it for this cause, I don't want you coming back. Because if you don't come back, that means I gave you enough money to give your sister at least a decent Christmas somehow. At least something. I know Christmas is not all about presents. It's, you know, it's about family. It's about the giving of everything. There's, you know, the Christmas spirit and everything. But this kid was just, he was so full of that Christmas spirit. And as I said, you know, it's just one of those stereotypical things, but it sounds like it's stereotypical, but I'll be honest, the whole time I worked there, even after that, like outside of the realm of working, I've never seen a kid that young be so conscious of what he was doing. I never saw him again. I really didn't. For all I know, maybe he might stumble upon this commentary. I have no idea. But I've never seen a kid that age be that generous afterwards. And, you know, and with what we have now, with, you know, kids wanting this and that, and now I'm sounding like an adult and I'm sounding like a grandpa, I guess. But, you know, with kids, you know, just asking, like, there's going to be a lot of kids, I'm sure. And I'm sure a lot of people got them, including people watching this commentary. But I'm sure a lot of kids, you know, they asked for a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One or, you know, something really expensive. And it's like, this kid had a really nice controller and some really nice popular games. And he sold them that evening in the dead of night, in this cold winter storm, just so he could try at least and get his little sister something for Christmas. That's something I never forget around Christmas time. It really isn't. And I wanted to share that with you all too. And maybe some of you all have done stuff like that. It's that story always brings out the feels with me. But now I've told it so many times now, I can say it without my voice, you know, really, you know, going up and down vibrato and all that, and not, you know, getting tears in my eyes and all that. But just, you know, it still strikes a chord with me, just seeing someone that young, you know, just doing something like that. It's awesome. Anyways, this is Mr. Mario signing off. Thank you for watching, everyone. As I said, you know, whatever holiday you might be enjoying, please enjoy it. If you're not celebrating anything, enjoy your morning, your evening, your afternoon, whatever it is when you're watching this video. Hope you all have the best, and I hope you all were entertained and, you know, at least enjoyed this commentary somehow. Anyways, this is Mr. Mario signing off. Thank you for watching, everyone.